in particular, I mean, I know I would like to find, because like my religion is a big, big part of my life,
Okay.
and like I know that's kind of be something that I need to look into, because I know back home I was kind of involved with my youth group, and
Okay.
that's important to me. It's kind of like staying involved, and so since I'm moving back to Midwest City where the church is, um, I think I would like to be involved in the youth group and kind of help out.
Okay. Do you think that's going to be an easy transition back?
Probably not, because I've been away for 4.5 years, so I've only been involved in the summer and maybe sometimes on the weekends.
Okay.
If they have like a big going about like kind of work trip or like a mission trip or something like that. But I haven't been there like every Wednesday and Sunday, kind of when they do the majority of their things. So that, I think that's going to be different going back and kind of like being involved in like the day-to-day situation.
Alright. Now, I noticed that earlier you mentioned that some of your anxiety was kind of around finding a job. Tell me about that.
Well, it's been interesting, because this semester I graduated in December, and so this semester I've been looking for a job, but I just haven't found one. And so kind of I've been in this state of doing nothing, and that has really been like difficult, because I'm more of a action kind of, I've got to be doing something all the time, and so that's kind of been a big different like thing to deal with. And so going back home and going over the summer, I'd like to find a job, and I think some of it has to do, like, I've applied to multiple things, but then I kind of stopped applying, which was probably a bad idea, because I say I want a job, but
Okay, right. Yeah, you said you really want a job, but you stopped applying. So help me understand that. I'm seeing a little bit of an incongruence here.
Yeah, well, some of it was just because I'm moving back to a different location. I stopped applying in Stillwater,
Okay.
just because, who wants to hire someone that's only going to be in Stillwater a month, being in April, because, I moved back in May. But then some of it, I think, has to do with the fact that I'm a bit nervous to find a new job, having to transition and, get to know a new employer and that kind of thing. It's kind of like, I hate to say it, but maybe like a bit of fear, like, I don't know, like,
Okay.
just because,
So just another transition.
right, it's kind of, yeah, you're doing nothing. You have all this free time, but do you really want to go find another job? And I mean, yes, I do, but then there's that bit of, nah, I'll just like staying at home, doing whatever I want. So I think that's part of it. It's kind of like the limbo of, do I want to or do I not want to?
Okay. Are you feeling pressure to find a job from like other people, or is it just yourself? Or any pressure at all? Is there none?
Oh, no, there's pressure, just because, financial burden, that kind of thing. But
Okay.
I think, yes, like, my parents want me to find a job and stuff, but I think most of the pressure comes from myself, like me feeling like I'm not doing enough.
Okay.
So, and I think that's been the biggest like dilemma, having not having a job, is like having this pressure of like, I'm not doing enough. I'm kind of like not pulling, I don't know, kind of like inadequacy. Like I'm,
Okay.
it's like inadequate to find a job, and so I'm not doing my part. I don't know. That's been the
But you
hardest.
don't necessarily feel that pressure from your parents or anyone?
I mean, there is, but it's surprising that they've been both really supportive in this time, and so that's helped kind of alleviate some of the pressure, but it's still there, just because,
Okay. So let's talk about maybe some goals that you have for the upcoming transition. Like, what kind of things would you like to see happen?
Okay, well, first, just coming to kind of get back into the swing of having, my parent around, my mom. So that's going to be different, kind of using the summer kind of to use that as a transition, preparing for like the beginning of the semester, kind of like discussing kind of like how is it going to work out,
Right. So like getting comfortable with each other
Right.
and talking about boundaries and stuff.
And then the big thing is in starting graduate school. It starts in July, and in my program that I'm going to study, there's only going to be a few, like maybe 10 people, and so that's going to be interesting, getting to know those 9 other people, and building those friendships, and just because I'm going back home doesn't mean I have that support of all of my friends, like because they're not there, they're not there anymore. I don't really talk to anybody from Midwest City anymore. So building, those relationships in my graduate study program, that's going to be a big issue for me.
Finding new friends and kind of where you fit in, maybe.
It's kind of strange, at age 23, I have to find new friends. It's going to be an interesting situation. But yeah, pretty much have to find new friends.
So have you thought about maybe what kind of actions you're going to take towards maybe reaching some of these goals?
Well, to do the job, I have to put out applications, obviously. So, putting out applications and hopefully getting interviews, that kind of thing. The setting boundaries and like discussing, I just have to take time to discuss with my mom, like how's it going to work out. And then the whole finding friends issue, it's just going to be me being open and kind of like taking that first step, because sometimes I sit and I observe people instead of like taking that first step and like going to meet someone and introducing
Take
myself.
more of a proactive
Right.
role.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be important to me transitioning into graduate school.
Okay. So we're about out of time, but let's just kind of go over what we talked about.
Okay.
Earlier in the conversation, we talked about some of your anxieties about the new transition. And we talked about the transition back home. You think it might be a little bit of an awkward dance with your mom on a couple occasions. And we got to talk about your family and what kind of roles they're going to play. So it seems like you have a pretty good support system in your family. So and also
For that.
yeah, we next talked about how you might want to get back involved with your church back home. Also maybe an awkward transition, but and then some of your goals, just finding those friendships, getting involved in your new city, and then just sort of kind of talking about what the transition might look like with your mom, and kind of taking more of a proactive role in maybe building those new relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming
Well,
in.
thanks for listening and discussing and just your input. It's been nice.
I'll see you next week.
All right.